So, how could it be that a guy from Boston, Massachusetts, manages to time his arrival in Athens, Greece, perfectly to coincide in 2008 with the beginning of the Greek economic crisis? Actually, my family has a talent in this area. My father immigrated from Belfast, Ireland, to New York City in 1929. Now, fortunately, he brought a special talent. He was an international football player. So he made it through the Great Depression. Because of that talent, he played for the New York Giants in Yankee stadiums throughout the years of the Depression. I didn't bring that kind of special talent to Greece. So it wasn't easy for me in the Greek economic crisis. It wasn't easy for anybody that I knew in Greece at that time. But in those years of struggle and challenge, some amazing things happened, some fundamental changes were made, and through those changes, Greece was able to reimagine itself. And I'm happy to be able to share a part of that story with you today. But my story and that story begins many years earlier. Actually, in 1978, when I graduated with my PhD from Stanford University and joined the management consulting firm of KPMG in the Education Consulting Group. My very first assignment was to be the lead consultant for a project aimed at boosting the annual fundraising of the University of California, Berkeley, from $20 million a year to $40 million a year. To do that project, I was sent out across the United States, and I visited colleges and universities across the US that were engaged in major fundraising initiatives. And when I came back from that trip of visiting private and public universities, I said to my colleagues, I'm convinced that perhaps the greatest thing the United States has ever done is to produce this system of higher education. When you see it up close and personal, it's an amazing, amazing thing. So it's not surprising to me that the great revolution in Greek higher education by the year 2030 took place in part by applying principles taken from the US system of higher education. The most astonishing fact by 2030 is encapsulated in this one picture. In 2030, Greece has 3 universities in the world top 40. To give you some perspective, in 2015, Greece did not have 1 university in the top 350 of the world. But by 2030, 3 Greek universities were in the world's top 40. Now, how could this possibly be? For me, it was not so astonishing, because I had served for 18 years as president of a small university in the state of Illinois. Now, Illinois is relevant to this story because Illinois has essentially the same population as Greece, 11 million. It also has the number 10 ranked university in the world, the University of Chicago, the number 25 university, Northwestern University, and the number 36 university, the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. As it so happens, Illinois is also bankrupt. And, as it happens, Illinois is also historically, politically dysfunctional. Does this sound at all familiar to you? In fact, the 2 most recent governors of the state of Illinois ended up in federal prison, serving time for political corruption. So obviously, Illinois is not a perfect environment. And yet, Illinois has been able to produce 3 of the world's top 40 universities. Now, this is a kind of cautionary tale for us because it tells us a couple of things. Number one, it tells us that you don't have to have a perfect economy or a perfect political system to produce great universities. But it also tells us that if you have great universities, it doesn't necessarily mean that your economy is going to be great or perfect or your political system is going to function as it should. So, Illinois showed the possibility. It didn't surprise me that Greece was able to do this because Illinois could do it despite all of its challenges. But how precisely was Greece able to make this leap? First of all, Greece was able to build on a couple of key assets that it had long had. First of all, excellent human capital. The key to any quality university is the faculty and the students. And Greece has always had excellent faculty and excellent students. The problem was these students and faculty were functioning in a system that really didn't support and bring out the best in them. But still, this was a leverage point for Greece, these existing human assets. The second leverage point was the brand magic of Greece for education. The world knows that Greece is the birthplace of the Western intellectual tradition. And so Greece combined that with its natural beauty, with its incredible weather, with its strategic location in southeastern Europe. And this built for Greece in the education sector a powerful, powerful brand, building on these key assets. But Greece has had these assets for many, many years. It wasn't just these that made the difference. It was Greece's commitment to 4 key operating principles that really were different from how Greece had approached higher education in the past. The first of these best practices, taken partly from the US and from other international systems, is a commitment to institutional diversity. Probably the greatest single strength of the US system of higher education is the diversity of institutions in that system. 62% of the students attending 4-year colleges and universities in the United States today attend public universities. But 30% attend private, nonprofit universities. 8% attend private, for-profit colleges and universities. If you look at the international rankings, the statistics are essentially reversed. The United States has 22 universities in the top 40 of the world. 14 of those are private, nonprofit universities. 8 are public universities. 0 are private, for-profit universities. So by 2030, Greece had managed to interject this kind of institutional diversity into its system. In 2030, the majority of students continued to attend public universities in Greece. But there are many more private universities. Actually, in 2015 and 16, there were none because Greece didn't allow it. Greece allowed and encouraged the formation of private universities, and now many of those universities enroll a significant percentage of students. 2 of those private universities are among the top 40 in the world. 1 of the public universities in Greece is among the top 40 as well. The second institutional practice was institutional autonomy, giving to universities the power to respond to social needs and student interests, not to be controlled by bureaucracy and government. This was a big change for Greece, and it was the second major factor, that the institutions themselves were able to respond as they saw fit and not dictated to. They looked to international accrediting for quality control, not to government bureaucracy. The third major change related to student choice and admission criteria, how students are admitted to universities. Today in Greece in 2030, students can apply to any university they wish to, and they can transfer easily from one university to the other after they've started in one. And admission criteria have changed to move away from national testing as the major criterion to a more balanced portfolio that students present as a result of their high school experience. And what's happened now as a result of that is that Greek families invest far less of their time and money in private tutoring to prepare for national exams, and the students invest much more in the quality of their high school experience. The final change was philanthropy. I mentioned my earlier project in 1978 at the University of California. In the 1970s and 80s, the US public universities followed the example of the US private universities in developing very powerful fundraising staff and efforts. In the 1990s, the European universities followed them, and places like Oxford and Cambridge got into the fundraising game, and they managed to assemble an extra, very important element of support that hadn't been there before to support their missions. Finally, Greece, between 2015 and 2030, committed itself also to philanthropic support on behalf of its universities, and as a result, billions of euros came from within Greece and from the diaspora beyond Greece to support both public and private higher education. So there you have it. A miracle, really, in some respects. By 2030, amazing. But one final thing I want to mention. For all of this to happen, Article 16 of the Greek Constitution, written in 1975, that had forbidden private universities in Greece, had to be changed. It wasn't easy, but the change was made. Today, Article 16 is best known in 2030, not as an article in the Greek Constitution, but it is best known as a discotheque. The Article 16 discotheque features music from the 1970s and the 1980s, and Greeks enjoy going there. It reminds them of the way things were, and they're able to celebrate the difference that has come to Greece by the year 2030. If you have an opportunity to, you should check it out.